Hey, Bart Miller here with Cycling Strong. So we get asked all the time, what should I use when I'm buying a bike, or what's the things that are the most important to have when I just get my bike or purchase a bike? So things I want you to really think about. First thing is, well, let's kind of start on this side. And I'm not going to go in order of necessarily importance, so keep that in mind. One thing to think about is a good pair of sunglasses. Make sure you've got something that works really well for you and blocks the wind. Now, girls, I know that you like really cute sunglasses, so make sure they look cute on your face, but make sure that they're aerodynamic and they work well for while you're on the bike, because if you have these big bug reflectors out there, they're not going to work as well as you want long-term with your helmet and things to that nature. Now, I bought this pair because on mountain biking and road biking for some of the time, these change colors. So they lighten up, so when it gets darker, I'm in the shade, or when I'm actually need them to be darker, they're darker. So that's the reason I went with this. I also have a road pair that are just darker and they've got a polarized lens to them. But this kind of a shape of glass is what I use and I like the most. So make sure you got some sort of glass, because you don't know when you're gonna have a rock fly up in your face or a bug or whatever else. You do not want that in your eyes. And so I've got a buddy named Hank Angel. He never wears anything on his eyes, and I keep telling him one day he'll be getting surgery because he's going to get something in his eye. The next thing that's really important for you is to make sure you have a water bottle that you like and that you can get open and that you can use, because if you don't, you won't get it open. So a bottle like this, most of the time if you're tired, you're reaching down and you're pulling it with your teeth like that. If it doesn't open the way you want and you can't get the liquid out, don't use it. You know, get something that really functions and works the way you like it. So take a few bottles. I wouldn't advise you chewing on them at the bike shop, but you know, figure out what's going to work and what lid opens really well. There's also all sorts of bottle cages. So on some bikes, they're really tight and you can't get your bottle out. I have to ride a small frame because I'm a big guy in a small package. How's that? So I have to use something that is sometimes on the frame that pulls out on the side, because I can't get the frame so that I can pull it out like this straight out. So I use different types of bottle cages on some of my bikes. Some of the bikes I can use a normal bottle cage, but make sure that the bottle fits on your bike and that you can get it out while you're tired. You know, think about those kind of things when you're getting gear for your bike. So something I think about: water bottles and your cage. The next thing is, make sure that you have a really good pump. Now, it sounds silly, but a lot of people forget you need to air your tires up or check your air pressure every time you ride. Yes, every time you ride. So if you don't have a good pump, it's a pain in the butt. Just spend the $60 to $100, get that one great pump that you like. I like to have a gauge on it. I also like to have a pressure release on it. So if you look right here on this pump, it's got a little valve that you can push in. That way, if it's on there and you get too much air in, you just push this little button and it lets the air out of the tire, and you can watch your gauge and you'll know exactly where you're at, instead of having to take the thing off, push the valve stem, and get the air out. So a good pump makes a big, big difference, and that'll help you with that. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is shoes. So if you're riding clipped pedals, then you're going to have a certain kind of road shoe or a mountain bike shoe. If you're just riding for fun every day, the difference is a mountain bike shoe has the capability of walking really easy, and they have more of a shoe aspect, and then they have the cleat in the middle. A road shoe does not have that on there. So if you're going to be walking around, a road shoe is not a good idea, okay? So make sure you buy a mountain bike shoe for that. If you're riding road though, get your road shoe, mount that on. But the one thing that you want to keep in mind if you're not going to put clips on is you've got to have a really good stiff sole on your bike. That's really important, because you want no flex while you're actually pedaling out of this. Well, I would say no, but I mean very minimal flex in the shoe while you're pedaling. This is like, think about it as a snowboarding boot or something like that. You want that to be really good so you get the most power to the pedal. So make sure you get a really stiff-soled shoe. I see girls come to spin class, and guys for that matter, that come to spin class and they're in their running shoes. Big, big, big mistake. All the energy goes into the shoe, and it can actually takes a lot of pressure on your foot, and you're not getting the pedals to work right, and it actually can, it just affects your feet a lot. So get a really stiff-soled shoe. It'll help you a ton while you're doing your spin classes or while you're actually riding. So hopefully that covers shoes. Next thing is helmets. Make sure you get a helmet that works for you and that fits really comfortable, that you can adjust and that you can ride in all day. If you're doing mountain biking versus road biking, there's different types of helmets, different things to think about, but make sure you've got a good helmet, something that's comfortable and that fits you really well. Put it on, take your sunglasses, try them on, make sure it's not going to hurt your ears, things to that nature. Really important to try doing that all together, but make sure you've got a helmet that works for you and that is good for you. The other thing, I don't have them right here, but I always ride in a full-fingered glove. Make sure you've got a good glove, something that's comfortable you can ride in, but I always ride full fingers. A lot of people don't. The reason I do is I know if I'm in a wreck on a bike, the first thing that I'm going to put down is my hands. And if I put my hands down and I have a half-fingered glove, what ends up hitting the road, and I've seen it so many times, is it just takes your fingers and just cuts them up so bad. And it takes a long time to heal, and it's just miserable. So I put up with the extra full-fingered gloves. That way if I go down, the glove takes that, not my hands. So keep that in mind. The other thing is to make sure you've got a really good cycling short that you're going to wear. Now, if you're only going to ride short distances, you can probably go get a Walmart type of short or, Garts or something like that. Not saying they don't sell high-end stuff. They probably have different levels, but I wouldn't be as concerned about the pad that you're using in your shorts. If you're going to ride long distance, you need to start getting serious about what kind of pad you're using in your shorts. And make sure that you're using a chamois cream, and that's for you two girls, a chamois cream and a really good short. So use both of those and make sure that it's a real high-end, good short. You'll have a good experience that way, and the chamois cream will help you a ton with the chafing and making sure that you're not sore by the end of the day. So keep that in mind. Also, do not skimp on your jersey. Jerseys really make a big difference in getting the heat off of you and making sure you stay cool and that you feel great at the end of the day. So that's another really important part. Also, make sure that it's got the pockets in the back. If you're going on the longer rides, it's really important because that's where all your nutrition, food, everything's going to be stored. So make sure that that fits really well. And another thing to keep in mind in jerseys, and girls, sometimes some of you make this mistake. I watch a lot of ladies that ride, and guys, you're the worst ones for this. If you're going to get a jersey and you're going to buy one, I want you to think about how it fits. So when you put a jersey on, and sometimes I wear a base layer like I've got on right now underneath my jersey, and I don't have this watch on, because I have some wicking products that I like that I wear underneath as a base layer, especially when it starts to get cool. But one thing I want you to think about when you start to put this jersey on, and I made this mistake when I was earlier in my cycling stuff, if it's not fit tight, if it doesn't hug your body, then it's not the right size of jersey for you, okay? The reason being is when you want wind resistance, if that jersey is flapping in the wind and you're catching air in this whole thing, that's causing you problems the whole entire day. The second thing is that when it gets really hot outside, if you decide that you want to ice your body down, which means I take nylons, I cut them off, and I put ice in them, I tie them, and then I throw them down my back, the jersey's got to be tight enough to hold that ice back there for you. That's how tight. If you watch the pros, you never see them wear a loose jersey. There's a reason for that. So make sure your jerseys fit you. Don't put a jersey on that's a size too big and is really loose because you feel like it's going to show your fat belly off. Deal with it, lose the weight, or show the belly because you need that jersey to be tight, okay? So that's another thing I want you to think about. The other thing, these are not a must, but if you're going on your first rides, things you want to think about is sometimes in the morning it's a little bit cool and you need something for your arms. Just get you a nice pair of arm warmers that you can wear. They're real easy to put on. You just throw your arm in like this is what I do. I just pull them up to right here. These are another thing. You don't want to get too tight, but you want a pair that's not going to slide down. Now, what I mean by too tight is sometimes you get these arm warmers and they start to cut off your blood circulation to your arm because they're too tight. Now, arm warmers you want to go clear up as far as you can to keep that whole arm covered and cooled off. So sometimes you even like these in hot weather if they, now not these particular ones I have, but you can wear them and it keeps your arms actually cooler than having something else like a sunscreen or something like that. These become the sunscreen. And then you put them on like that, you're able to ride in them, they function really well. But when it starts to get extremely hot out or you want to cool off, you're not worried about taking off a long sleeve jersey. You just pull this straight off, you're good to go. If you got your base layer in, you just undo the jersey, you let this hit your base layer, unless you're coming downhill. Coming downhill, you got to get the wind resistance, you zip that back up. Okay, so I think we've covered all that. The other thing is inside of your shoe, make sure you've got a really good sock. Socks are very, very important in your shoes, that you're getting a good wicking material, going to keep your feet dry, and really going to wear well for you. So make sure you buy one nice pair of socks to do that. The other thing that you want to have is a great saddle to be able to ride on. I've tried a ton of different saddles. There's all sorts of, I like the Ergon saddle, I like the Specialized saddles. There's other ones I've liked out there, but one thing to keep in mind is saddles make you or break you at the end of the day. Have your sit bones measured and make sure you get a good saddle, okay? Because if you don't, you're gonna regret that. So girls, big thing for you, guy saddles don't always work for you, okay, obviously. So make sure that you're trying different things and that your saddle fits you too. So I'm not just talking to the guys here. Guys, if your junk's going to sleep on you, that's a problem, obviously. And you need to make sure that that saddle, that you're looking at your saddle I mean, I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen to you because it is, but make sure that that's something you're taking into consideration, especially you young guys. You wanna have families. It's really important you take care of yourself. Make sure you're looking at that in your saddle. Don't have your junk going to sleep on you, okay? So this is a saddle. The reason this is on here, because I'm sure I'm gonna get asked, is I have a Weehoo that I pull my little guy with, Xander, and so this is just a quick way to switch my road bike seat out, and then I just attach that on there. But make sure you got a good saddle, okay? The other thing that's a must is make sure you're packing an extra tube. If you're not packing an extra tube with you and you get a flat, there's not a lot you can do with a little patch kit. I mean, some patch kits work really well, don't get me wrong, but I've just never had good luck with patch kits. So bring an extra tube with you. Now, I have a lot of friends that like to pack a pump like this, or they pack a pump like this type of a pump. I'm not anti that by no means, but I think it's just easier for you to throw in your saddlebag. What I would use is I would throw a tire lever in like this to be able to get the tire off, get the tube out, get your new tube in. Then what I do is you just have this right here is called a CO2 cartridge. This is just the valve stem on there. You screw this on just like this, and then you put this on the actual valve of the bike and you just screw that all the way on. This shoots all the air into it and pumps it all the way back up. And this is just easier, more convenient to pack than packing a pump like that to pump it up. So personal preference. I just use these CO2 cartridges. When you're done, this just unscrews, this goes in the garbage, this you keep, and you just go buy another one of these for $3.50, and it's a lot lighter. If you're really worried, you got a big mountain bike deal or something like that, this is called the Big Air. It's just got a ton more. You can see it's got 40 grams of air in it. It hooks on the exact same way, and you've got all the air you're ever gonna need to pump up that tire like 3 times, especially for what you're after there. So that's what I do. I go with something like that instead of using a pump like this just because of the convenient factor. That's it. These pumps work amazing. They're never gonna go away, and a lot of people love them. So, you know, use that if that's what you want. I always have, like you just saw, tire levers in my bag, really, really important. I use a product called Hutchinson's because on 2 of my bikes that I'm riding, I do not have tubes. I am tubeless, which means this is a sealant and air all in one that seals that type of a tire, okay? But if you're riding tubes, this will not really do you any good, so don't worry about it. And if you're riding tubeless, you should be riding a product like no tubes inside of the tire. So if you get a hole, this seals it and takes care of it for you, okay? Without you having to do all this other repair stuff. That's the main thing there. I always carry a $20 bill with me just because I want to make sure I've got everything. So if you happen to see my bike and you need a 20, there's one on it. So I always carry it under the hoods. So if you know what a road bike is, right where the brake lever folds down, I fold that back, I fold the 20, and I put it right underneath the hoods. I fold that back down like that. No one knows it's there. It rides underneath my hoods. And I have a 20 on each side. That way if there's a problem or I need some cash, I've got it right there. On my mountain bike, I always carry it in my bag in the back so that I've just got a little spare cash. I think I've covered everything. If you've got your first bike and you're looking for items that you need for that first bike, those are the critical items in my opinion. Oh, one last thing I should cover. You may want something like this. This is a Garmin that tracks how far you've gone, your cadence, things to that nature. You may want something like that. Not a necessity, but if you're going out on a 20-mile ride, sometimes you want to know you've gone 20 miles. So use that or use your iPhone or a smartphone. Strava has a really good app that you can use to track all that with. So, you know, whatever works, but you may want something like that, I guess, something else you may consider looking at. Other than that, I think we've covered everything. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you're not following